We try to ensure quality through infrastructure by setting out minimum infrastructural norms and minimum, and then of course minimum pupil-teacher ratios. To ensure that minimum infrastructures are provided, you should have a playing field, you should have a classroom of a particular denomination and stuff like that. And in the event a particular institution does not have that, then in 3 years' time that institution must acquire it and comply with the in the infrastructure norms under the Right to Education Act. We have also, and this is part of our policy of inclusiveness, because our education policy stands on 3 pillars: access, which is provided by the Right to Education Act itself; inclusiveness, we have a provision in the Act which talks about the private schools in the country to take in 25% of students from the neighborhood belonging to the disadvantaged groups. From class 1, it is not 25% from April 1, 2010. In April 10, 2010, class 1 students will have 25% from the neighborhood as well. So that when they move up to class 2, then they will, a fresh lot of students will come into class 1. And this way it will take 12 years to have 25% in the school belonging to the disadvantaged group, because you can't fit in somebody from the disadvantaged group into class 12 and hope that he or she will be able to cope. So the policy is therefore incremental. The integration policy is incremental to that extent. And of course, quality is ensured by ensuring that the qualification of teachers are a certain level. So those are the 3 pillars on which our education structure stands. Now, having said that, that's not easy. I mean, to implement the Act is not easy. And what we've tried to do, and this is really consistent with the concept of decentralization, because I don't think that sitting in Delhi, the central government can start implementing, the way neighborhood schools are functioning, or finding out how the neighborhood schools are functioning in the hinterlands of India. So that cannot be, that should not be, that must not be. And that if we try to do it that way, we will fail. So consistent with the 73rd and 74th Amendments to the Constitution of India, where now panchayats are given the responsibility of the school system, we have now ensured that the managing committee of every neighborhood school shall consist 75% of people from that local community. The idea being that unless the local community is involved in the education of its own children, nobody will be able to take this movement forward. And so 75% of the managing committee will be of people in that particular area, and the school education plans will be prepared by that managing committee. And of the 75%, 50% will be women. The idea being that if women are part of the managing committee and in that local authority, then their own children will be going to that very school. And if their own children are going to that very school, they will try and make sure that the teachers come on time. They will themselves try and make sure that the children actually go to school. So you empower the local community through this process, and then don't leave it to the central government or the state government and the capital of the state governments to actually monitor as to what's happening in school. That should be done by the local community itself. That's the concept behind decentralizing the whole process, through which we hope to achieve that this will achieve the particular purposes for which we have enacted this law. The question, of course, having said that, there will be still a lot of problems that will confront us on a daily basis. One of the problems is absenteeism. This is a big issue. How do you ensure that teachers actually go to school? And that's where the possibilities are infinite, because we'll have to start using technology. There is no other way. And one of the things that we are thinking of, actually, and I've asked one of the companies to give me solutions, that nowadays, because of the telecom revolution, everybody carries a mobile phone. And so you can have a software program where each teacher will have to declare what her phone is. And then we will know where she is at a particular time of the day, because the phone will tell you where her position is. So if she is at home or he is at home while he or she should be in school, we'll get to know through technology whether she is in fact attending class or not. The point that I'm trying to make to is that it's all very well to set the law in place. But in order to implement the law, we'll have to innovate ourselves, and we'll have to use technology solutions to be able to. We will, of course, also take advantage of technology in actually reaching education to young children as well. Because I think that we are, for example, 5 lakh teachers short. In India, we have about 55 lakh teachers who teach from class 1 to class 12. At the moment, we are about 5 lakh short of teachers. Right? We have to recruit 5 lakh teachers. It's not going to happen overnight. Right? So how do you then, where there are no teachers, how do you then get education to those particular areas? And therefore, if you have broadband facility, which hopefully this government has declared will happen in the next 3 years, and if you have the last mile connectivity through wireless, then you can ensure that lots of education programs can reach children even if there is no teacher. Of course, that's only a stopgap arrangement. What we ultimately want is a marriage between technology and the teacher who is inspirational to be in class to actually clarify the doubts of the students. So therefore, we'll have to use technology, but technology by itself is not an answer to the question. This is the way I look at school education. Well, when you talked about the issue of exams, and that's very important, we need the system to be far more dynamic than it ever has been. We need the system to be innovative, far more innovative than it ever has been. We need the system to be bold. And people tell me, how will you change the way teachers teach? And the answer is simple. And it's not a technology solution. Why do teachers teach the way they teach? The reason is that you have prescribed a particular textbook for a class. And when you prescribe that textbook and you tell the student that you're going to be examined on that textbook, then the teacher will teach that textbook to the child. Because the teacher has no other way to teach the child. And if you expect then the child to regurgitate what he has learned from the textbook, and you set the examination on the basis of that textbook, then you will have the kind of rote learning that you have had in this country for years. So you need to change the examination system. And the moment you change the examination system, you will change the way teachers teach to the students. If you have an examination not based on the textbook, if you have an examination system based on certain parameters of knowledge, contours of knowledge, a core curriculum, and if you have an examination system which tests you not on particular textbook but your understanding of physics, of chemistry, of biology, or whatever, then you will change the way teachers teach their children. Because at the moment they rely only on the textbooks. So you need to actually look at another system of examination. And this is not going to happen overnight. This is something that we'll have to take civil society with us. And we've been able to do that because in the last minute of the Council of Secondary Board Educations, we got unanimity that in the science stream, we should have a uniform core curriculum throughout the country. This was not imposed by the central government. All chairmen of all secondary boards in India were there, and they unanimously agreed. This has never happened before in this country. So you have to reach out. You have to tell the parents of this country, look, it's your children we are thinking of. It's not your future, but your children's future that we are thinking of. And in a globalized world, we have to change. We have to be bold. We have to meet the challenges of tomorrow. And the only way to do it is to allow the child to discover his own genius. And the way to do it is to free the child from being imprisoned, within the walls of a classroom and being told that all your learning depends on whether you were able to mug up this book or not. And don't have parents dream for their children. Let children dream for themselves. So I think I've said enough about school education. That's my vision. That's the way I want to go forward. But the most important thing is if we succeed in this enterprise, at the moment, for every